had narrowly missed the place where a twisted blade floods the lungs with blood and brings death within 60 seconds. "Just a scratch," I said. He smiled. He knew how bad it was. To my astonishment, George Kosinski, my brother-in-law, arrived 5 minutes later. George, who had left England never to return, was back. I suppose he'd been trying to head off my visitor, for he showed little surprise to find him there. George was nearly 40 years old, his wavy hair greying at the temples. He took off his glasses. "I came by cab, Bernard. A car will arrive any minute and I'll take this fellow off your hands." He said it as casually as if he were the owner of a limousine service. Then he took out a handkerchief and began rubbing the condensation from his thick-rimmed glasses. "He loses consciousness and then comes back to life," I said. "He urgently needs attention. He's lost a lot of blood. He could die any time." "And you don't want him to die here," said George, putting his glasses on and looking at the comatose man in the bathtub. His eyes were tightly closed and his breathing slow, and with the sort of snoring noises that sometimes denotes impending death. George looked at me and said, "I'm taking him to a Polish doctor in Kensington. He's expected there. He'll relax and trust someone who can talk his language." George moved into the drawing room as if he didn't want to think about the man expiring in my bathtub. "It's internal bleeding, George. I think he's dying." This prognosis showed no effect on George. He went to the window and looked down at the street as if hoping to see the car arrive. I think it was done to reassure me rather than because he really thought he'd see the promised car. George was Polish by extraction and a Londoner by birth. He was not handsome or charming, but he was direct in manner and unstinting in his generosity. Like most self-made men, he was intuitive and, like most rich ones, cynical. Many of the men he did deals with, and the ones who sat alongside him on his charity committees, were Poles, or considered themselves as such. George went out of his way to be sociable with Poles, but he was a man of many moods. Where his supporters found a cheerful self-confidence, others encountered a stubborn ego. And when his mask slipped a little, his energetic impatience could become raging bad temper. Now I watched him, marching backwards and forwards and around the room, flapping the long vicuna overcoat, or cracking the bones of his knuckles and displaying that kind of restless energy that some claim is part of the process of reasoning. His face was clenched in anger. You wouldn't have recognized him as a man grieving for his desperately loved wife. Neither would you have thought that this apartment had been, until recently, his own home, for he blundered against the chairs, kicked his polished brogues at the carpets, and fumed like a teetotaler held on a drunk driving charge. "He had nowhere to go," said George. "You're wrong," I said, waving the key at him. "He had a key to this apartment. He tried the doorbell only to discover if it was clear." George scowled. "I thought I'd called in all the keys, but perhaps you'd better have the locks changed, just to be on the safe side." He lifted his eyes quickly, caught the full force of the annoyance on my face, and added, "But they can't just walk the streets, Bernard." "Why not? Because they're illegals? Because they don't have papers or passports or visas? Is that what you mean?" I put the key in my pocket and resolved to change the locks just as soon as I could get someone along here to do it. "Damn you, George! Don't you have any consideration for me or Fiona? She'll be furious if she hears about this." "Must you tell her?" "She'll see the blood on the mat in the hall. I'll send someone round to clean up. I'm the world's foremost expert on cleaning blood marks off the floor," I said. "Then get a new mat," he said with exasperation, as if I was capriciously making problems for him. I can't think of anything more likely to excite Fiona's suspicions than me going out to buy a new mat. So confide in her. Ask her to keep it to herself. It wouldn't be fair to ask her. Fiona is big brass in the department nowadays. And anyway,